Welcome back to Africa 54. I'm Cynthia Are. Now, just before the break, we had a report about Nigeria's use of the death penalty. For more on that topic, we're joined now by Mr. Osahon Iheye. He's a human rights lawyer, and he'll be talking about this in depth. Mr. Osahon, thank you so much for joining us on Africa 54.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you. Now, in that report, we saw that the use of the death penalty is on the decrease. So why is this added pressure coming from Amnesty International? That's the question some analysts are asking.
I think it is informed by the fact that it should be such that no human being should be allowed to take the life of another. But having said that, I am someone who is for death penalty in some kind of way.
In some kind of way, do you care to clarify?
Yes, I would want death penalty for people who are involved in very violent crimes like armed robbery, like terrorism. I'm against death penalty for such things as domestic violence. For such people, you shouldn't have death penalty. But for violent crimes, terrorism, armed robbery, and of course, recently, kidnapping.
Now, let me pick one of the examples you just gave in terms of armed robbery. We've seen cases of people who have turned a new leaf, you know. So are you of the opinion that people can be written off, that there's no way they can do a 180?
I am not a pastor. I'm just a lawyer. I rather want to leave that to the pastors and the people who are inclined in that kind of situation. But what I think about, what I'm concerned about, is that if you decide to take somebody else's life, why should you have yours? That, in a nutshell, is what I'm particular about. For armed robbery and for terrorism, particularly when the people are not even remorseful. You know, they don't show any remorse. They still feel that they have a right to unleash terror on members of the society. Why should such a person keep his own life? That is my own opinion, yes, quite frankly.
Now, one of the other issues that this highlights when it comes to looking at the system regarding punishment is what we have in Nigeria. For instance, we don't have a rehabilitative system. It's more like a punishment, not necessarily a case where you have people being rehabilitated. So that's another deeper issue. What do you think about putting more into rehabilitation so that we could actually see a case where people might not necessarily be killed and could actually do a 180, even though you said you're not a pastor?
Well, I must say to you that when you talk about rehabilitated people, the Nigerian prisons, I've been there on a number of occasions as a visitor and all that, with my church. Then I was the chairman, Human Rights Committee of the NBA Ikeja. We visited a number of times and all that. The Nigerian prisons are not meant, they are not built to rehabilitate. That is the truth. You cannot rehabilitate people when you treat them as almost next to nothing. You treat them as animals. Why do you rehabilitate such a person? The best you can have from anyone who has gone to the Nigerian prison, and I dare say, is that you can only have somebody who will get worse than before you went in there. You can't rehabilitate with such kind of facilities. There are no facilities. The people sleep on the floor. They probably don't even sleep on the floor. They all sit tight like this, you know, all in rows. So how do you rehabilitate such a person? The person, the way the Nigerian prisons are built and the way they are operated, you know, for instance, you have probably prisons that are meant for 1,000 people having 20,000 people. How do you rehabilitate such people? It's not possible. The environment is just not conducive for you to rehabilitate. You can only make somebody worse.
Well, Mr. Osahon Iheye, human rights lawyer, thank you so much for sharing your views with us on Africa 54. We appreciate your time.
Well, out to Ivory Coast, where the National Order of Architects has opened the country's first professional architecture school, meaning students no longer have to go abroad to learn the trade. The school will help Ivory Coast's next generation of architects to understand their country's specific building needs. Emily Eob reports from Abidjan.
With its open stage overlooking the lagoon, the Palais de la Culture in Abidjan is one of the landmarks of the Ivorian economic capital.
La plupart des personnes n'entendaient pas ce que c'était un théâtre à ciel ouvert.
At first, they wanted blueprints for an indoor theater. We told them that we are in Africa. We party in open areas, not indoors. So this is an open space turned toward the city so it can be part of the design.
La ville puisse participer.
Architect Francis Sosa designed it. He is now a professor at the architecture school that he and other Ivorian colleagues launched in December. The goal is to train a new generation of architects to meet the demand of this fast-developing country.
On n'était pas assez nombreux. Nous sommes 25 millions d'habitants, on est 200 architectes.
We don't have enough architects. There are 25 million people in Ivory Coast and 200 architects. That's even less than the number of architects in one neighborhood in Paris. We often have to seek help from professionals outside Ivory Coast, so that was the main motivation.
Donc déjà, c'est la motivation essentielle.
The first class has 19 students. Before, the closest architecture school was in Togo, 800 kilometers and 2 countries away. Many students went to France or the United States to study. Student Marie-Danielle Kanga says she wants to build better housing for poor city residents.
Comme problème, il y a l'anarchie. Tout n'est pas réglementé.
Nothing is regulated. You can build as you want, where you want, when you want. If there is a generation of Ivorian architects who know the realities of our country, then we can tackle these issues.
Travailler sur ce plan-là.
The training includes field trips around Ivory Coast so students can get inspired.
It has allowed us to get to learn about our heritage, how architecture can be made from earth, mosques made from earth. We should preserve this and even continue doing it. When jobs come up, builders here often go with a modernist style, but traditional can be good too.
The students have 6 years of study ahead of them. One day their sketches may become hospitals, schools, high-rise buildings, and even future landmarks dotting the city's skyline. Emily Yob for VOA News in Abidjan.
It's time for us to take another break, but before we do, we want to remind you to visit our website for all the latest information at channelstv.com any day or night. And you can also find us at youtube.com/channelsweb. Still to come on Africa 54, what do Louisiana crawfish and the African drum have in common? Well, nothing really, but we have stories celebrating them both. Coming up, stay with us.